Good morning and welcome to the MRTA educational series today regarding protecting your nest egg. My name is John Green with Association Member Benefits Advisors, or AMBA, as we call ourselves internally. I'm joined by your president, Nancy Craig, today. We'll have Nancy share a little bit here in a moment because there's been a ton of activity going on with MRTA, but just a couple of quick housekeeping details before we get started here, because we've got several folks that are new onto this call, or maybe you've been with us before, which we appreciate. All participants are in a listen only mode. What that means is, unlike regular Zoom calls where it looks like a Brady Bunch picture up there, you'll just see me, Nancy, and I on the right hand side of your screen here. If you want to have a comment or ask a question, feel free to drop it in the chat feature, the Q&A feature. At the end of our conversation, what we've been doing lately is we've been just stopping the recording. And if you don't feel comfortable typing in the chat, you can simply raise your hand on the reaction bar and I can unmute you and you can ask your question of the group. So we'll be glad to do that. We have a lot of fun doing some interactive stuff. Our conversation today should take about 45 minutes or so. You'll also notice this QR code on the bottom right-hand corner. That's the best way. If there's a topic we discussed today that you want more information on, you want to go more in depth or have somebody review it with you, that's the best way to use that QR code. I'll show you how to do that at the end, walk you through that process. We also record all of these webinars. And once we get that back, probably in about 1 or 2 days, we'll post it out on the MRTA website under their benefits section. So you can go back and you can look at it, review it with a spouse, with a family member. You can also look at some of the other ones that we've done in the past several months as well. So let's go ahead and get rolling here today. And so Nancy, I love following your Facebook page. And I love Teacher Appreciation Week. I saw MRTA everywhere. So tell me what's going on in the great state of Missouri.
This picture, what's happening at MRTA, the staff, this is the staff and Maria and Blitz. Blitz is the dog, and they took cookies to schools all over Jefferson City, Missouri. This past, I guess it was the first week of May, first or second week of May. It was Teacher Appreciation Week. And we so appreciate our teachers in Missouri. They work so hard. And we've heard from superintendents all over the state how there's a shortage of substitutes. There's a shortage of specific teachers. Physics was mentioned. I've taught one physics class in my life, and that was I was substituting, and the kids pretty much took over. But anyway, it's been fun. They've really had a good time doing that. But these are some of the pictures of some of the schools, and well, in that bottom right-hand corner, there's Mark Webb. He's our newest employee, and he has the cookies in his hands. So anytime you take cookies or anything into a school, you're very popular.
Exactly. So yes. I love seeing the activity going back to the teachers. As folks know that on this call, my wife is an elementary school teacher. So Teacher Appreciation Week comes and goes real quickly, but the recognition that y'all do is incredible. So what else is going on up in Missouri? Are you still on your road?
Well, I just finished over 500 miles this month, and I've got a few more to go. So I'm on the road. My theme is join me on a road trip across Missouri, and I've been doing that really well. I'm having my region 8 is my region that I helped start some units in it, and I'm going to that this coming week, and on the 18th, and then the 19th I'm going to my home state, or my home unit, actually, a region is down in Park Hills. And I was born about 18-20 miles from there. So it's going to be a really good week for me. And I'm winding down on my region tours. I just had a really good unit tour, a unit visit up near, it was in Cameron. And come to find out, Cameron is about 60 minutes from Kansas City. Okay. So we had a good time there, and came home, and it was a little over 500 miles, and Mrs. Craig drove every mile of it.
Outstanding, outstanding. We've got a golf tournament coming up next month. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. We do. I'll get it in a
I
minute.
want to say June
Uh,
23rd. Does that sound like about right?
23rd of June. Yes.
Super.
23rd of June. So
And-
that's going to be exciting. We've never done that before. That's Maria Walden's baby, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay, super.
I don't golf, but I intend to be up there for lunch, so we'll see how
Are they
it
inviting
all works.
legislators as well, or who all's coming besides MRTA members?
Anybody. It's
Okay.
open to anybody that golfs or likes to eat lunch.
Okay. I can do one of those well, so
Yeah, me too. It's going, I think, Hartsburg, and I'm not sure. It's up by Columbia, Missouri, somewhere. On
super.
it must be a really good, a big golf course. I don't know much about it, but we'll see. We're going to try this and see what happens. So
Okay, and be a great
anyway,
way
it's
to
going to be fun.
good, great way to get people out, especially enjoy the hopefully a little bit cooler weather than what you're getting right now. But
You never know.
you never know. So go out to the MRTA website and check that out. Anything
Yeah.
else you want to share with the group on the call, Nancy, before we
Well,
get
no, I'm just glad to see you've got 21 participants so far, John. That's really good. And I want to tell you, 21 participants, John Green does a great job of presenting this, and you'll learn an awful lot in 45 minutes. So I'm gonna skip out here. I've got a ton of things I need to do to prepare for next week. So have a good morning with John and learn a lot.
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate you. Stay safe on the road out there, keeping in contact and reconnecting with the locals. So I appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you very much.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
you bet. All right, just a quick reminder, my name is John Green with Association Member Benefits Advisors. I live a little bit north of Houston with my wife, who's an elementary school teacher. I've got 3 kids that are in various stages of college and young life, young career life and married life. My middle son did do his grad work at Mizzou, so I enjoyed spending some time up there in Columbia and traveling across the state and exploring that as well. And so I kind of feel like Missouri has adopted me. You took great care of my son and my daughter-in-law, so I appreciate that. But I've spent the better part of my career working in schools, helping active educators understand what their retirement years are going to look like. And that's kind of what we want to talk about today. But real quickly, just a reminder what MRTA does on your behalf. You saw Blitz, the watchdog for your pension. That's just a personification of what MRTA does to make sure that your pension is taken care of. All those things you worked for so many years, you can count on that pension, looking out for COLAs, providing for the benefits and things like that that you receive. As Nancy mentioned, keeping you connected back to your local community. We're back after COVID, back having local unit meetings. Nancy's traveling around. It's a great opportunity to get back in there. And then to partner up with us at AMBA to provide those discounts and benefits you can't get anywhere else through your relationship with MRTA. And those advantages of having MRTA and AMBA together, now we're going on our 3rd year together in terms of relationship, you can fill those gaps that aren't covered by your state or your district benefits. They're portable, meaning you don't have to be in Missouri to use the benefits. You can use them all across the country. There's no networks or anything like that. But the biggest reason that MRTA members enjoy these benefits is they can extend them and their availability to their family members, to maybe to their parents who are still living, or to adult children who may be aged out of their benefits that they have that way. And because a lot of teachers take on second careers after they leave the schoolhouse, the proper planning with your parents or maybe with your adult children may prevent you from having to take off additional time off of your second job to care for a loved one or something like that. But so today we want to talk about some things that are related to protecting your nest egg. And it's a pretty broad topic. We're going to narrow it down to about 5 different threats to your nest egg. But our goal today is to kind of help you understand what makes up a nest egg, what is and what isn't a nest egg. Talk about the Missouri conundrum, I like to call it, very much similar to what we have in Texas. And my wife, as I mentioned, is an educator. You have a little bit different threat that others in other parts of the country, that Texas and Missouri are very similar. We're going to look at the 5 biggest threats to your nest egg and how you can protect yourself against those threats, give you peace of mind, make the most of your MRTA endorsed solutions out there. So let's jump in here real quickly and just kind of cover the 3 main components of a stable retirement. I like to call this, and it's not my idea, it's not original. Retirement has usually been called a three-legged stool. You've got three different legs for most people. You've got your teacher retirement system, your pension check. You've got your Social Security, and you've got other savings. Well, the problem that you've got in Missouri is you really have a wobbly leg when it comes to Social Security. And I know those of you who've retired, you understand this. My wife and her active teachers don't understand this. And it's very frustrating when I go into a school in Texas, because we have the same situation, is that you have issues when it comes to Social Security and what you're expecting whenever you retire. And that's based on two different issues. One is a windfall elimination provision, or WEP. This affects you as active educators or as retired educators because you don't pay FICA in as a teacher. But if you've paid FICA based on your employment outside of teaching, you may not, even though you've funded your full 40 quarters, you still may not receive your full Social Security benefit that you could be entitled to because of that WEP, that windfall elimination provision. It's a complicated formula. Be glad to cover it with you specifically later on, but it really just basically reduces your income from Social Security that you might have been expecting. However, the biggest impact that Social Security has on people, especially for teachers who have taught their entire career and not really worked outside of an education in Missouri, is the government pension offset. This is the benefit from Social Security that you expect from your spouse whenever they pass away. So as long as your spouse is living, you receive, or your spouse receives, a Social Security benefit. If they pass away and precede you, you could possibly lose all of that or a significant portion of that because you are a Missouri educator, and the government pension offset penalizes you because you didn't pay into Social Security. So again, that makes that third leg, or that center leg in this illustration of Social Security, kind of wobbly. So really what that means is you've got to sturdy up your other savings leg to make sure that that remains stable, so that anything that you receive from Social Security or don't receive doesn't cause your retirement to be wrecked. But what makes up your nest egg? First of all, your active pension is not part of your nest egg. That's a payment that you're going to receive until you pass away. Depending upon how you chose to receive the benefits, there may be some survivor benefits in there. Spouse's Social Security, whether you get it or not after they pass away, but while they're living, that's not part of your nest egg. What I call mattress money, or what Dave Ramsey would call your emergency fund, your 3 to 6 month fund, that's not your nest egg. That's something you're saving up specifically for an emergency. Or a structured settlement like a insurance claim or a lawsuit, something like that. Those aren't your nest egg. So we're not really talking about those today. Some of those are pretty set in stone, and your safety nets, your mattress money, so to speak, we're going to keep that aside. What we're talking about are your balances in your 403B plan. You know, when somebody helps you put away $25 a paycheck into a separate 401k type plan, it's a 403B for educators, those type of plans, those are your nest egg. Any type of individual retirement accounts, any cash balance pension accounts, which is different than a regular pension plan. Maybe your spouse has those. CDs, savings, inheritances, things like that. Those type of monies, those are your nest egg. And in Missouri, just like for Texas educators, you really have to shore up that nest egg because you don't have that Social Security third leg to stabilize your retirement as much. So we really want to jump in and understand those things. And we pulled some of this stuff from an article I've kept for a long, long time about the major threats to your retirement. This was a USA Today article going on about 5 or 6 years ago. The top threats to your nest egg. There's 5 of them. Taking care of elderly parents is one of them, in no particular order: death of a spouse without life insurance, boomerang children, a medical crisis, or overexposure to the stock market as you age. And so we're going to touch on each one of these, talk about some stats around it, and then show you some potential solutions. Feel free, again, drop in the chat or Q&A if you've got questions. Periodically, we can stop, answer those questions, and kind of talk about some things. I do this with a couple of other associations, and I'll kind of give you some questions they've asked as well, and talk through that for you as well. All right. So one of the reasons, or one of the things that can scramble your nest egg, if you still have parents who are living, or if you are the elderly parent in your family now, is taking care of an elderly parent. And studies show that 73% of all long-term care is provided in a home by an informal caregiver who receives no compensation. That's just a long stat to say somebody you know takes care of you for free. And when you think about it, and I think about my grandmother on both sides of the family, both of my sets of grandparents were one of 10 kids. So they had lots of family members that could take care of my great grandparents if something happened. And families have shrunk over the past several generations now to where you maybe have 2, 3 kids at most. And so one of those persons has to stop their career, or you move in, something like that. And because we have so many dual income families these days, that really means that usually the woman in the family, the daughter, has to take on that caregiving role, which can greatly impact their earning potential. And think about it, if you have a daughter who is a teacher and they have to stop teaching, that can not only impact their earnings, it can impact their future pension eligibility, their pension earnings, things like that. So there's a lot of income that can be lost when a family member has to stop their job, stop what they're doing, and take care of the elderly parent in the family. There may be the love that's there, there may be the desire to do that, but is there the financial ability, and how do you recover that? And then what we've also seen over the past several years, caregiving in the home is increasing in the length of time it's done, meaning that it used to be a much shorter period. Now it's lasting longer, 5 years or more. So it's hard to get back those earning years and the cost that goes in there. So taking care of elderly parents, whether you're the elderly parent or you have elderly parents, that can really scramble your nest egg. There are some ways that you can do this to not worry about it. There are long-term care and home health care solutions. There are recovery care plans that are endorsed by MRTA that allow you to have a lump sum of money that can pay for a skilled nurse to come out and take care of you, or a lump sum of money that if a son or daughter or a family member had to take care of you, they could have compensation. Or some of the plans even give you the ability to take that money and retrofit your home to where if you need pull bars or widening of doors or ramps or things like that, that can make it safe to where you can live independently on your own after an accident or a surgery or something like that. So there are some solutions out there. The best thing that you should do is to look at them early because they can become more costly as you get older. But some of these may fit your plan, your budget a little bit better than having to come up with a big chunk of money if something happened. And it also, you can understand what Medicare does and doesn't pay for, because Medicare usually does not pay for any type of chronic illness. They may pay for some skilled recovery up to maybe 20 or 100 days, depending upon the situation. But after that, there's really not any type of care or coverage in Medicare or private health care beyond just a short period of time. One of the biggies that I've seen, and again, this really impacts us in Texas and Missouri, is a spouse passing away without life insurance. When my father passed away, my mother was not a teacher. When my father passed away, my mother received his increase in Social Security. They were divorced at the time, so she was not receiving Social Security from him, but they'd been married over 20 years. She received that Social Security. That was a huge lifeline for her. But 2 in 5 Americans would feel a financial pinch within 6 months of somebody dying without life insurance. And life insurance allows you, the surviving spouse, to keep from having to dip into those retirement savings if necessary. They may be having to live for many more years. Life insurance can, depending upon how you took your pension, can be a pension replacement. Many people, because they needed the money, took a pension at 100%, which means that you're going to receive the most pension you can right now. But the minute you pass away, pension stops. Well, your surviving spouse or family members may need that pension money to keep up expenses and household maintenance and things like that. Life insurance can replace that. It can pay for somebody to go to college, pay for housing, medical costs, things like that. There are opportunities to fill in that gap if no life insurance is out there. The challenge is the older we get, the more expensive life insurance becomes. MRTA has some endorsed whole life plans for a level premium. You can get a small amount of life insurance that will never change. If you've got some medical conditions that maybe prevent you from getting regular life insurance, there are some guaranteed plans that would at least cover some final expenses, maybe do a little bit of pension replacement, something like that. So that's another way that you can protect that nest egg for the surviving spouse, or if you're the surviving spouse, can do that, especially because of the government pension offset rules that impact teachers in Missouri. This is a huge reason why you need life insurance. And it really came to my eyes. I was in a small town in Texas talking about retirement and pension and Social Security. And I had a teacher hold up her hand and says, I have to still teach because my husband passed away, worked for, I think it was Kodak or Hewlett Packard, a major company that had a pension plan, and said, I still receive his pension, but I don't get his Social Security because of the government pension offset. And you could have heard a pin drop in there from the young teachers. They had no clue that they may not get their spouse's Social Security whenever their spouse passed away. Life insurance can fill that gap and keep you from scrambling your nest egg. One of the other reasons that will scramble a nest egg bigger than anything are medical bills. As we age, chances are cancer, heart attack, or stroke, one of those three things, in addition to a fall, could be a big reason why we have a medical crisis. And medical billing is the leading cause of medical bankruptcies, regardless of whether somebody has insurance or whether they have Medicare, because most of the expenses related to the care of cancer, stroke, and heart attack, which are the three biggest outside of a slip and fall and accident, are not covered by Medicare. And especially for those of you in Missouri, there are miles and miles and miles between major cities where you have major cancer treatment centers, where you have emergency centers, things like that, that you have to travel, and those expenses add up. I've been on flights back from St. Louis back to Houston where I'm flying with people who are coming down to the medical center. Those expenses are not covered. And so not only are those expenses not covered, Medicare is going up in cost. They're raising premiums. They're changing deductibles. And all of a sudden you have balanced billing issues where people are outside of a network. Maybe they don't accept Medicare anymore, and you have to pay that extra cost that way. So some of those things can really jump up and bite you in a medical crisis. Fortunately, there is a solution. There are different plans, cancer, heart attack, and stroke coverage, that give you lump sum money if you have a cancer diagnosis that you can use any way you want to. It doesn't matter if you've got Medicare. It doesn't matter if you've got a private health care somewhere else, a supplement, doesn't matter. You can use that money however you want to pay for those deductibles, those co-pays, those co-insurance clauses, to pay for comfort items that Medicare doesn't pay, like anti-nausea medication, prosthesis, things like that. Or it can pay for someone to come to your home and cook meals. Whatever you want to do, you can use that money any way you want to. And then, like we mentioned, because there are miles and miles of Missouri, lots of helipads all the way across the highways to get you back to Kansas City or St. Louis. Medical transportation costs, usually a small portion is only covered by Medicare. Most providers aren't part of networks, so they can charge you $10,000, $20,000 for a helicopter ride to Kansas City or St. Louis. Those type of things, a massive membership would cover that 100%. Again, you don't have to worry about a medical crisis. Fourth, and this is one that scares me because, like I said, I got 3 kids in their 20s, is boomerang children. These are kids that come back after college. Maybe they come back after they've been married. They come back with the grandkids, all that kind of stuff like that. More and more households are seeing adult children living with them than ever before. And when you look at the retirement statistics, 52% of boomer households, and that's people that are retiring right now or older, who have children that live with them, 52% who have children who don't live with them are fully retired. But only 21% of boomers that have children living with them are retired, meaning they've got to work additional hours, they've got to take a second job, substitute, whatever it is to provide for their families. And because we as a society have started having children older in life, oftentimes that means that we've got a smaller empty nest window and kids can move back in, kids, before we become needing care, things like that. So boomerang children can really eat up a nest egg. We saw this in COVID quite a bit with job loss. We saw that happen there. The problem I have in this, and I'm going to be real honest with you, I don't know what a solution is. Short of locking the door, making them promise to be your caregiver forever. If you've got a solution, put it into chat. I would love to share that with the group. We did this presentation in Oklahoma back on Tuesday, and one of the members of the Oklahoma Retired Educator Association, she said, whenever my children move back in, we set out specific responsibilities, and they had to do certain things that kept them being able to live in the house. Said it made it much easier and made the financial burden less expensive as well. So if you've got a suggestion for this that I can take personally, drop it in there, feel free to do that. But boomerang children moving back in is on the top 5 list of things that will scramble your nest egg. And then finally, probably the biggest threat, and especially right now, is overexposure to the stock market. Most of us can remember back to 2008, 2009, when the housing crash happened and the stock market dropped about 50%. Well, most of us weren't retired back then. Some of us on the call may have been. So we had some years to gain that money back. However, if it dropped right when you were retiring and it was back in half, could you afford to have the time to gain that back? I've always heard this stat. I don't know where it comes from, but I've heard this before, that you should take your age minus 100, or take 100 minus your age, and that percentage of your nest egg should be into some sort of a stock market or some sort of a more risky venture out there. Okay. But we don't know what's going to happen to the stock market. You don't know what's out there. We've had a really good run over a period of years. And I think about this for those of you maybe that like to go play blackjack or play slot machine, something like that, where you have a really good run, but then you lose a little bit, but it's time to go to bed. If you're like me, sometimes I try to play it to get back up to what I had. Maybe I had won $200 or $300 and I've lost 100. Sometimes the best advice is to take that money and go to bed. Take it off the table, take the winnings that you've got and take it and go to bed and get it off the table. This is the chart that shows the bear markets, or the times that the markets have declined over 30% for more than a year and taken more than 2 years to recover. The last one being that one in October 2007, where we lost over 48% in a short period of time. We don't know if we're in a bear market right now. And if I knew when the next bear market was going to happen or how long it was going to last, you wouldn't see me on this call. I'd have a nice yacht down in the Caribbean and I'd be soaking up the sun right now. Nobody knows when that's going to happen, and nobody that knows, or nobody can tell you. And if they said they can, they don't really know for sure. But because of that, we've got to look out and say, can we afford to take this? We watched back when COVID first hit, a 30% drop in our savings account in 2 weeks in our nest egg. Was that going to stay the same? No, fortunately, it bounced back up. You don't know the situation out there, but it's taught us a lesson. And it's taught us a lesson that on the left-hand side, CD rates, money market rates don't earn us anything. They're earning such a small amount. You can't really make any money for your nest egg because inflation is eating all of that up. You're in essence losing money. So then you got it over in the stock market. And I pulled this up on Monday. I have a bad habit of looking at the stock market. And when it's red, I don't even look at the numbers. I just close it real quick. It's been going down quite a bit. So that means I've lost money, that type of thing. It may be time to take that money off the blackjack table and set it aside in something safe. That overexposure to the stock market, a possible solution to make sure that you don't ever run out of income, could be a tax-deferred asset protection plan. And most of us don't have a fear of dying. We have a fear of running out of money as we age. And this tax-deferred asset protection plan that MRTA endorses provides lifetime income and safety, meaning that you can never outlive this. You get access to competitive returns with potential upside in the market, but no downside. You can't lose money. So when you open it up and it's red, you don't lose money. You never can lose money in this situation. And it protects you from that market risk so that you don't have to worry about this. And so the situation that I had is that I took an old cash balance pension plan that I had from Allstate when I worked at Allstate for many years, was earning me much like those CD rates, 1% at best, losing money due to inflation. And I placed it in this particular plan because of my family history with dementia. If you've joined these calls before, you know that my father spent the last 2 years of his life in a nursing home as a result of vascular dementia. That makes it hard for me to qualify for long-term care. So while I protected this money from stock market risk, I can only get gains in the stock market. I'm not getting eat up with inflation, that type of stuff like that. It gives me some long-term care benefits that if I have to have long-term care for myself or my spouse, I can take money out without penalty. Or say in 10 years, when I start to use the money out of this to start to draw almost like a pension check out of it, a lifetime income, if I do need long-term care at that point, it automatically doubles my monthly payout for long-term care. So I've got a lot of protection on both ends. And I rest my peace of mind knowing that X amount of my nest egg is protected from all of that red stuff on the stock market. I'm not worried about anything that takes place there. And it's with a company that's been around since before the Civil War. They're strong and secure, so you don't have to worry about, is this company here today and gone tomorrow? Because we've got to prepare for a lot more years of living. Chances are, once you reach age 65, the studies show for every year you live past 65, you're going to live an additional 2 years. So many of us on this call are going to live well into our 90s. And as you've seen inflation eat up your purchasing power right now, life changes happen, cancer, accidents, long-term care needs. We've got to prepare. You've built up your nest egg. You've been frugal. You've saved it through your 403B, your spouse through the 401k plan. You've got your pension coming in, which is great. The challenge for those of us, Missouri and Texas, Social Security for educators is kind of iffy for your spouse, but for yourself as well. That leg of Social Security is not as stable. So we have to rely on our nest egg a little bit more than maybe some other states that have Social Security in there. So you've got to make sure that you protect that nest egg and keep it from cracking at the worst opportune time. So I want to open it up for questions here. Feel free to drop them into chat. Feel free to email me at the bottom, john.green@amba.info. If you have questions about any of the solutions we've talked about today, all you've got to do is take your smartphone, open up your camera feature on your smartphone, and simply hover over that QR code. When you hover over that QR code on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, a little form will pop up. You'll hit it with your finger, a form will pop up, and you can check benefit review. You can check tax deferred asset protection. You can check long-term care, cancer, Medicare, whatever you want to talk about. Fill that out. It'll come back to me. We'll make sure that someone who is licensed in the state of Missouri gives you a call to help answer that for you. I'll come back to this in a moment, this QR code, to make sure that you have that. Again, if you've got questions, drop it into chat, put it into Q&A. We had some questions during the Oklahoma conversation about required minimum distributions, or RMDs, because the government changed the law on RMDs to 72 up from 70 and a half. That kind of puts some changes in how you handle your nest egg. If you want to talk to someone about that, we can get someone to help you walk through that process to make sure you understand what could be a potential tax penalty out there, but more importantly, how to use your RMDs or how to save them, things like that as well. Okay. Just a couple of reminders. Our next calendar date for our next webinar is on Friday, the 27th. I'm in Florida on the 26th, could be in the air. So I wanted to move this to Friday. We're going to talk about all of the free discounts and benefits that you get for being an MRTA member. We're going to walk through the passport program, break it down for you, help you to understand what's out there for you for free. we're going to put in the chat where you're going this summer, and we're going to try to find discounts for hotels along the way. I know Nancy's used this for rent cars. I've used it for hotels, rent cars, theme park tickets, dining, lots of things out there. People are getting out there being more adventuresome. You can do that, but it's Friday the 27th. On Thursdays in June, we're going back to Thursdays. We're going to talk about long-term care, all about it, soup to nuts, what it is, what it's not, what typical plans look like, try to help you out that way. Then we're going to demystify Medicare on the 23rd. My buddy Kel's going to jump in, and he's going to come in and talk about all these things. When you turn on the TV, Joe Namath, Jimmy J.J. Walker, Tom Selleck, whoever it is, they're talking about Medicare plans you've never heard of. We're going to demystify what Medicare is, how it works, when you need to sign up, what you need to do, all that kind of stuff. So jump on that way. All right, we've had a couple of questions pop in here. I will make sure that we answer those here in just a second. Remember to tell your friends about these webinars. What a great way, especially for teacher friends that you know that are retiring here next month. Let them know about these webinars. Get them involved in MRTA. There's no better way to introduce them to the value of MRTA than through these webinars. Let them join the 30,000 plus of you who are protecting your pensions and taking advantage of your benefits out there. So, all right, we've got a couple of questions in chat. I'm going to leave the QR code, my email up here. Let's see if we can answer this here. All right, Joanne, you asked about posting the PowerPoint. What I can do, because there are some moving parts in there, it's a little bit large. The video will be posted out there on the MRTA website, but Joanne, I will send you a copy in PDF form. That way it's a much smaller form. We'll take care of you that way. So thank you for asking about that. All right, Julie, this is an interesting question. Julie Withrow asked, do you think taking money out of investments and buying real estate is a wise decision right now? Okay, first and foremost, I'm going to tell everybody, put a disclaimer out here. I am neither a real estate professional, nor am I a financial advisor, a licensed financial advisor. I used to be in the past, but no longer do I have that license now, that certification anymore. So this advice is going to be broad in nature. Real estate should be, in my opinion, a portion of your portfolio, okay, your nest egg. The timing of buying that is really subjective. Right now in Texas, houses that last year were selling for $200,000 are selling for $300,000. Are they worth $300,000? I don't know. So it's kind of if I'm selling investments that are dropping 10% and buying something that's worth 50% more than what it was last year, is that a good use of my money at the time? Personally, I love real estate. I love land. I love the house. I tell that to my kids all the time. But to say, is now the time to do that, Julie? That's something you really need to sit down with a professional. And if you have the opportunity at a good price, it may not be bad. I listen to a lot of talk radio, good or bad, of all different types. And people are talking about buying tangible assets that aren't losing money because of inflation, things like that. Real estate would be considered one of those tangible assets. But you've got to also think about property taxes, upkeep, maintenance of those things. So like I said, there's some pros and cons out there. That's a great question, Julie. Individually, I can't answer it for you, but it would be a consideration. It's just a matter of when you're taking that money off the table and it's down money, is buying something that's more expensive than what it was maybe a year ago, is that a wise thing? So it's a good question. If it's an investment property, may not be a bad thing, things like that. So I love those kind of questions. Julie, thank you very much. Bring those things on there. So, all right. Someone talk, Joanne asked about the benefits of a MASA membership. Okay. Not particularly, we do have some MASA webinars that we'll touch upon at a later date, but the biggest benefit of MASA membership is peace of mind knowing that if you have an emergency medical transportation situation, whether you're at home and have a heart attack, a stroke, or a fall, or whether you're around the world and have an accident and need to be transported to a hospital or to life flighted somewhere, get medically stabilized, you don't have to worry about a dime of that transportation expense coming out of your pocket. That's the biggest benefit, first and foremost. As a member of MRTA, You get a substantially decreased cost to that because you can purchase that on the open market. It's about 40% cheaper being a member of MRTA. They waive the membership fee because it's a membership program. And you also get, when you go travel overseas, they give you a phone number that you call into before you go over and say, I'm going to be in Rome and I'm going to be here, here, and here. They will stage medical ambulance services in your area so that if something happens, you've got quicker access to transport and repatriation back home. And then depending upon the plan that you choose, there's some medical ID programs, things like that, that you get in there. But really, to me, the biggest thing is peace of mind of knowing that if I'm at home and something happens, or if I'm around the world and something happens, or if I've taken the grandkids to Disney World and something happens, not only am I going to be taken care of with no expense, but my grandkids are going to be flown back to Missouri, that type of thing, or my car's going to be driven back for me. So that's a great question out there, Joanne, and you don't have to worry about it, because the biggest thing that I've seen, everybody thinks, well, I participate in a local, through my water bill, I pay into the local EMS service. That's fine, it stays local. But if you go outside, you're going to have to, somebody else will pay. Most providers are not in network. And whenever I would drive from Kansas City to see my son in Columbia, all along the highway, about every 20, 30 miles, you see a helipad in the middle of a cornfield. And that's somebody that's being picked up and life flighted back to KC or St. Louis or maybe to Columbia. Those life flights are not in networks. So even though your provider or Medicare may pay for a small portion of it, you could be left holding the bag for the rest of it. So peace of mind is the most on that. If you've got questions about it, check that box about MASA, Medical Air Services Association. It's not just air, it's ground too. But somebody up there in Missouri, one of our team members, can help explain everything to you and the options you have out there for you. And it's very inexpensive as well. All right. One more question here. All right. This is from Anonymous. All right. My financial planner is totally against annuities. What do you see as the cons for these plans? All right. Annuities is a very broad type of a program or type of a plan. Annuities as a whole are basically, I like to call them sort of a mini pension system. They are taking a lump sum of money from an individual and paying you a stream of income that you can never outlive. So just like your pension plan, you've been paying into all these years, you can never outlive your pension. An annuity is the same way, but it's like a private plan. But that doesn't mean that all annuities are the same. There are many varieties of annuities. There are annuities that will pay you a fixed amount of interest. And then whenever you're ready to withdraw that money, you can get it all back plus the interest, or you can annuitize it and start to pay that money out. There are annuities that are variable, meaning that they are tied exclusively to the stock market, and they can lose money or gain money in value. So they're kind of expensive. A lot of times there are a lot of fees built up in them. And so your money doesn't all go to work for you. There are some annuities that are in the middle, much like the annuities that MRTA offers through AMBA, that all of your money goes to work for you. You don't have any fees taken out of it. And so you've got some different plans out there. So annuities, some people don't like the fact that they're locked up. I will tell you, some financial planners don't like it because they don't earn commissions every year on your money that's in the stock market. Annuities have a place within your overall financial plan. Good or bad, you want to watch out for fees. You want to watch out for surrender penalties, meaning that if you think you need to get the money out in the next year or two, you may take a penalty. You want to watch out for that because some annuities can have some substantial fees in there. Some annuities have provisions like long-term care, like I mentioned to you. Some of them have emergency out features where you can take a certain percentage out of if you have an emergency, things like that. So there are annuities all across the board. So to say annuities, pros and cons, that's some of the cons. You just need to know what type of annuity is out there. And again, personally, I wouldn't have all of my money in an annuity, but there's a place for that. I have a portion of my money that I want to protect because of the long-term care provisions inside of it. And it gives me peace of mind knowing that I've got a chunk that I can't lose money in from the stock market. I can only gain on the upside. So, okay, great question. All right. I'm going to stop recording right now. We're almost wrapping up.